What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about what do Canadians think about Canadian stereotypes. As an American, I have heard my fair share of what Americans stereotypically think about Canadians, and a lot of it isn't even really based in any kind of truth or fact. So I have to wonder, do Canadians find the stereotypes funny and amusing, or hurtful, or insensitive, or just kind of annoying? There's a lot of different ways you could interpret it. You know, some of the things Americans say, Canadians all live in igloos, that all Canadians even sound exactly the same with the same Canadian accent isn't true, that all Canadians say, oh, what are you talking about, eh? You know, that whole thing. Well, at the same time, I have to admit, some stereotypes have a little bit of truth to them. When people say that Canadians enjoy hockey, I mean, it does appear to me that a large amount of Canadians do in fact enjoy hockey. And when they say Canadians, they don't have blood running through their bodies. They have maple syrup running through their bodies. That's true too, you know. It's actually been proven by science. Okay, I'll stop. I couldn't help myself. But anyway, the point is, I'm just fascinated with the idea of all these things that Americans in particular say stereotypically about Canadians. What do Canadians think of that? I think that's a great question. So I'm really quite excited and fascinated about this video here, which is going to ask many Canadians about these topics. So I'm interested to see what they have to say. So let's take a look. Stereotype: Canadians are extremely polite. Right, there's such a big range of Canadian stereotypes. It's honestly amazing. This is another one where you could say this is a positive stereotype. Canadians are extremely polite, although I'm sure there's some Canadians that still would be like, I don't know, that's a bit of an overgeneralization. So this is a great one because this is a very, very well-known stereotype.
Yeah. I believe that. I'll bump into furniture and be like, oh, sorry.
You'll meet people and they'll be like, hello, and I'm like, hello. I'm like, oh, you're from Canada.
I see people apologize for no reason. Like, they'll drop a pin and say sorry. I'm like, why are you apologizing? You just apologized to a pin.
I didn't know what to expect going into this, and immediately these are very, very, very down-to-earth Canadians who are all like, oh, are Canadians polite? Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like, it even bugs me sometimes how polite we are. That's funny. I like that response, actually.
Just a reflex? Are we, like, trained as little Canadians? I don't know.
Have you ever been told to wear a Canadian pin?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, if you travel, wear a Canadian pin. You're like, oh, I'm from North America. And they're like, oh.
Wear a Canadian pin. Oh my gosh. It's cause, oh man. That's cause, like, if you say you're from North America, people around the world, when you're traveling, might be like, oh, American. And then it's like, no, Canadian pin. They'll be like, oh, it's kind of sad for Americans. It completely will flip their whole opinion of you. Oh man.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I don't think I've ever met like not nice Canadian. I feel like we get like sassy. But...
What? You've never met a not nice Canadian ever in your entire life? This is where I kind of have to put my foot down and be like, okay, I am very much willing to acknowledge that it seems to be a huge amount of very pleasant, nice people in Canada, and as a culture, Canada is just more polite than other cultures. But to say you've never in your life interacted with a angry, not nice Canadian, that kind of blows my mind a bit.
Have you been to a Costco?
But Costco's like an American chain, is it not?
This is true.
So America makes us.
What? You gotta go to the Costco to find the mean Canadians. Fun fact. Stay away from the Costcos.
Brings out the worst in us. I've never had a problem in a Tim Hortons.
We're not that nice, it's just that we live next to assholes. I don't think that's...
Oh man, sorry, I had to get all that out since I was already doing. Oh, I think he's talking about Americans. Oh man. Okay. I didn't know this was gonna have a bit of an American roast as part of it, but I'm here for it. Okay.
It's true. Passive-aggressive, but not necessarily polite. Backhanded compliments, that's a big Saskatchewan thing. I got told once that my voice was very nasally, but it suited my face, which was like really hard to hear. It's not great. I didn't pick either of these.
Oh my gosh. So basically some of them were saying, well, when Canadians are not so nice, even when they're being mean, they do it in sort of a nice or subtle way. Backhanded compliments, sassiness, kind of dancing around, not saying exactly what you mean. That's kind of funny. It kind of fits right in with the whole thing, huh? Okay, so conclusion is truth. And according to the Canadians interviewed here, they agree. Canadians are polite, which generally more polite than the rest of the world. Okay, which honestly was my opinion going into this, that this stereotype is based in reality. Stereotype. Canadians live in the middle of nowhere and men are lumberjacks. This is a classic American stereotype of Canada. That people are lumberjacks. They live in the middle of nowhere, preferably in the winter time, in constant snow, preferably in an igloo.
Wow. I mean, lumberjacks are hot, so that's a compliment.
I mean, Saskatchewan is the middle of nowhere.
It is the middle of nowhere. Like, it's literally the middle of Canada, and it's nowhere.
That's not okay. They're giving it the benefit of the doubt, where they're like, well, Saskatchewan is kind of in the middle of nowhere. That's not what the stereotype is. Americans like think all of Canada, like middle of nowhere, frozen. So they're kind of trying to be given this stereotype the benefit of the doubt, but no, that's not even what's meant.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Not true.
Not true. Well,
Yeah.
Are we middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
We have the most space.
We have a lot of land that's not occupied.
It's the most space per person in any country in the world.
Right. We're just like every asshole with a huge backyard that
Yeah.
did nothing with it. You know how I know we're not good with our space? There's Alberta.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's funny. Most of them are actually like, well, there is a lot of space. And it seems like depending on where they live, because I see next to their heads, they're like trying to tell you what part of Canada they're from. You're kind of getting different answers about whether they think where they're from is the middle of nowhere in Canada. Like, there's parts of America where Americans would happily be like, oh yeah, I live in the middle of nowhere, you know? Like, just random town in Louisiana or something, or Utah.
In my hometown, my whole family hunts, farms, and fishes. You're from the big city.
yeah, I would say no.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Exactly. Like, that's the difference between living like in a small middle of nowhere town or like a major city. Completely different answers.
the center of Canada.
Say the Toronto.
Yes. Can you tell?
No, I guess I personally have not met a lumberjack. I guess
I've
that's
never
true.
chopped a single tree in my life. Wear plaid? Sure.
I don't know for
Right.
lumberjacks.
Right, I forgot about the whole lumberjack part of this question. I feel like that's like kind of out of nowhere for a lot of Canadians. It just comes from like Americans thinking, oh, Canadians live in the cold, in the wide open space, so to survive, they must live in log cabins, chop their lumber, make fires and stuff. So everyone must be a lumberjack.
I've never chopped a single tree in my life. Wear plaid? Sure.
I don't know for lumberjacks. I think we're closer to rednecks. I think we're like actual pickup trucks. You guys do truck nuts here? You put nuts on your truck?
What?
That's a
Oh, well,
Saskatchewan thing.
I have seen that. Truth. They're giving this one truth. They're giving this one truth that Canadians are lumberjacks living in the middle of nowhere. That's not what I thought. I think part of it is a lot of the people they got are kind of having fun with the whole line of questioning, kind of having fun with it, which is honestly a response I relate to when people say stereotypes about Americans or just, observations or even negative comments about America. That's how I kind of approach it. Just like, sure, some of that's true. Like, and you can also laugh things off and just, everyone has their own way of kind of processing these things. True. Stereotype. Canadians say a, oot, and a boot. I wish the aboot was true, but from what I have seen on the YouTubes, a boot is a very specific part of Canada that is not very common. A is actually common, to my delight. That is something that's true. So this one's both true and not.
I mean, we do say A.
In French, we say
I agree with the A part. That's just a verbal tick that we say, and sometimes you don't even realize you've said it. You say a sentence to a person, and then turn around and like, "You're Canadian, right?" Like, I said A, didn't I?
It's a way of identifying Canadians. It's true. Americans have something similar. Like an American might be like, so you going to the store, huh? Or going to the store, right? You know, just substitutes instead of A. So honestly, there's almost American versions of A to turn your statements into questions and stuff.
Never said oot or a boot.
It's a boot. It's a boot. What's so goddamn funny?
I've said A, but like, A, get out of my parking spot
Yeah.
at Costco.
Oot and a boot, I don't know where
No,
the hell
that is
that's
not.
coming
No,
from.
that is not a thing. I think
That's like one of the most stereotypical Americanisms about Canada, is that Canadians say, oot in a boot. I'm going out in a boot. Oot in a boot, eh? Like, truly, that's probably one of the most bizarre and, like, common, yet wrong stereotypes. That's what I'm trying to say.
the whole like oot and a boot, it's more maybe Western Canada.
No, we just go out and about.
Out and about.
Out and about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth and myth. Okay, I agree. Both truth and myth. Stereotype. Canada is freezing cold all the time. Gosh, this is an important one, because this, just like saying a and oot and a boot, is one of the most prevalent, common stereotypes. And I'm talking about Americans in particular here. And from what I can tell, from what I've seen, parts of Canada, especially the more north you get, are kind of like what Americans think all of Canada is like freezing cold, snow, quite uncomfortable. That does exist the more north you get in Canada. And but Canada is not always like that, especially the more south you get towards the border, which is where most Canadians live. But when winter rolls around, it is more severe in Canada. So it's like, this is an overgeneralization and an overemphasis on the whole freezing cold thing. But there is some parts of this that is true.
Yeah.
Almost. Depending on where you are.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Saskatchewan has like 6 months of winter. It's ridiculous.
But I
Yeah.
like it.
You like it?
I'm sweating.
They like, oh my gosh, that's the most Canadian thing I've ever heard. Yeah, it's freezing cold here. I like it. I like how cold it is. It gives me energy. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, good. You're in the right place. I didn't actually expect them to be so, I don't know, affirming of this one. Everyone here is like, yeah, it's cold. It's cold as hell.
Right now, so no.
No.
Except it might not be winter time.
It's ridiculous.
But I like it.
You like it?
I'm sweating right now, so no.
No, but in Quebec, especially 6 months of the year is winter. Like you throw boiling water down the window and it turns into snow right away.
I didn't know that there was 6 months of winter. I actually didn't know that about Canada. Is that certain parts of Canada? He's saying Quebec. I knew the winters were intense, but I didn't know they were like longer per se. That's actually, like, I'm surprised I've never really made that connection before. This is actually good stuff for me.
Yeah.
Like that cold?
No, being in Saskatchewan, minus 40, and it's just cold. That's just cold at that point.
Once it's gone, I miss it.
There are short periods of good weather
Yeah.
in between the terrible ones. You know, in Winnipeg, I was about to move there.
Oh man, the justifications are coming out. It's like, I mean, it's freezing cold all the time, but there's small, short periods of warmth. Like, oh my gosh, where is he from? New Brunswick? She's from the Northwest Territories. They got a lot of, like, a big kind of sample size of people from all around Canada, which is fantastic because these questions and stereotypes kind of call for a big representation of Canada to be here.
Periods of good weather in between the terrible ones.
You know, in Winnipeg, I was about to move there. The reason I didn't is because you can just die waiting for the bus. You wait for the bus in Winnipeg like you wait for the bus everywhere else on the side of the street. Except it's deathly cold, and sometimes the bus is late and you die. Like that's what Winnipeg's like.
How did your great-great-grandpa die? Well, he had to go to the store.
More anticipating its return because I know it's coming soon.
You need a good woman.
Hear that, Mom? I need a good woman. Hear that?
Do you guys like the cold?
No.
That's a good question, because one of them said they like the cold. I can't imagine anyone. You get used to it, you accept it as a fact of life, but to like it?
No. Oh, do you? Sorry, I don't speak for you.
Well,
I'm sorry. You first? I want to be polite.
Don't,
okay.
But, I mean, have your opinion. That's fine.
I love that. I love that they added that little part there when they started interrupting each other. A true Canadian experience happening right now. Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. No, you. After you. Oh, your opinion's perfully valid.
For you?
Well,
I'm sorry. You first? I want to be polite.
Don't,
okay.
But, I mean, have your opinion. That's fine.
Truth. Man, I kind of went out on a limb on that one. I thought I had it all figured out, but that's my little American observation. I thought most Canadians would be like, oh, it's overblown. It's totally overblown. That's all we're known for. But these Canadians here were like, yeah, it's freaking cold, which is very funny to me, honestly. And the biggest, most important thing I learned here was that Canadian winter, I thought it was just like, it gets colder compared to American winters. Apparently, in a lot of parts of Canada, it's longer. 6 months of winter. I can't even wrap that around my head. This year, I felt like winter was like 2 months, with like 1 or 2 weeks of uncomfortableness in terms of cold, where I was like, oh, this is unbearable. It's unbearable. There's a little bit of wetness outside and it's cold today, and then a week later, it's like not that bad. That's the American like ability to handle cold compared to what the Canadians were saying here. But wow, this kind of blew my mind a little for reasons I didn't expect. Anyway, this is actually going on quite a bit longer than I anticipated. I think because I'm just having so much fun with how they're answering these. Like, I have so often wondered about what Canadians think about some of the stereotypes. And finally, there's a video here addressing it directly. And I just want to enjoy and savor all this. And they're bringing up all the good stereotypes I've wondered about. And it's been good. But I think I'm going to stop for now and pick this up in part 2, where we will finish the video. I'm very excited for that. This was very entertaining. And they have a great cast of Canadians here answering the thoughts and questions. So I'm enjoying this quite a bit. If you've enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps about what you personally think about some of the stereotypes mentioned here today. And if you're interested in part 2, or just more videos like this in general, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, and stuff I've never seen or learned about before in Canada, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.